The new Camry's right at our doorstep. We're supposed to get it by the end of this year for the 9th generation. We have spy shots to break down, so let's get into it. And if you are half as jazzed as I am for the new Camry, smash the heck out of that like button and let's get into the first spy shot. These aren't entirely new. They have been floating around for a bit. I just didn't have access to them. I finally got access to them, so I'm very grateful for that. And thanks to your guys' pressure, keep telling me that these images are out there. And so that made me want to go get them even more. So what we have here is the new Camry spied on the streets. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around Michigan. They do have their testing facility up there. And this thing is so heavily cladded with camouflage and fake panels that it's really hard to tell what's going on. We can kind of see some hard lines here on the front of the bumper. Here's where the Toyota logo is gonna go, and it kind of protrudes out the front. And you can see this is a mesh pattern. Why is it mesh in the front? Well, it's mesh here because that is where the radar cruise control sensor is. So I would assume that this little mesh allows for it to communicate with the outside world. This mesh pattern here allows the air to be fed into the radiator for the hybrid system. And I don't believe there's going to be a turbo, unless there's a turbo hybrid. We'll talk powertrains at the end, so stay tuned for that. But the V6 is really on the chopping block, and probably the base 2.5 engine as well, the non-hybrid engine. These mirrors look like they're taken from the Toyota Lexus parts bin, so nothing new there. And then the wheels are also something taken from the current generation Camry, if I remember correctly. We get a small look at the lights here. Just keep in mind with prototypes, they don't always have the newest lighting put in there. Sometimes it's a placeholder lighting system. So you do have a bi-LED light right here. You have an amber turn signal would be my guess. And then it looks like maybe this is the daytime running light. To me, these don't look like brand new groundbreaking lights at all, but I could be wrong. There's just so much camouflage. It's hard to get a gist of it. We have a box up front. We have the box for the passengers and a box for the trunk, the traditional 3-box. It's not like a fastback setting that we see, for example, in the Honda Accord and a lot of the competition out there that have that fastback setting. If you look at the bigger brother to this, the Toyota Crown sedan that we have in America, or crossover, depending on what part of the world you're in, it does have that more of a sloping roofline to it. This also has a pretty pronounced spoiler in the back as well. The easiest way to compare the size of these vehicles is side profile to side profile. And honestly, it looks nearly identical from what we're seeing here. I would say you have a little bit more aggressive front piece here behind the front wheel. And depending on the trim, you could have different bumpers as well, but the front bumper here doesn't seem to have that like chin that sticks out at the very bottom. I mean, unfortunately, the interior is also pretty heavily camouflaged. Like everything is closed down on it. The steering wheel actually looks to be like a new design here, but again, it could be a prototype. Some people are thinking that this Camry is just a glorified refresh. And in some ways, you could probably make the case because it is not going to betray its TNGA-K platform roots. They might, improve upon it. But if you look at the Prius in 2016 for the 4th generation was the first vehicle ever on a TNGA platform. Now that's the C platform. The new Prius is on the same platform. That's completely different redesign, as we know. Could we see that sort of extreme treatment here seen in the Camry as a big departure from the previous generation, even though it shares the same platform? It's possible. From the back, we have, is this a quad tip exhaust or just dual tip? Just dual tip exhaust here on the back. And this is probably the new SE or XSE model would be my guess. And there's the Michigan plate like I speculated on earlier. We have this large portion in the back, which makes me think we could almost have a light bar on the new Camry, but you see the cutouts for the parking sensors here as well. And then you have these bright orange pieces to simulate the reflectors that you need on the vehicle. And this is the last image here. And you can see like this is a cutout for where the shark fin antenna will be. Summarizing the looks of it, it doesn't really look any different than the current gen in terms of dimensions. It looks to be essentially identical. And then, now my sources haven't directly seen the Camry, but they do know people who have seen the design of the new Camry. And they say this design is the most accurate. Doesn't mean it's coming. It just means that this is the most similar to what we'll see. So essentially what we have going on here is them taking a Camry and putting the Crown Sports styling on top of it with the next generation Hammerhead design, the Crown Sports rear tail lights essentially. And it looks amazing because the Crown Sport looks amazing. So you can slap that general design on any of Toyota's products and they'll look great. And it looks a little bit like, well, the Crown Sport anyways looks a little bit like the Ferrari Purosangue. Interior, Toyota's been kind of following this basic design lately. It's not that much different than what we see in the new Prius. This is the new Crown as well. So I think Toyota will take a very similar design to this. Just, flip the image for left-hand drive, for example. We'll have a center screen ranging from probably 9 inches to 12 inches. You see the 12-inch screen here. I love the centrally mounted volume knob, unlike the new Prius. It has it on the opposite side of the screen. We'll have a very simple drive knob here because they will be all hybrid. And I think this general template is very handsome and functional all at the same time. You might be saying, Kirk, it's a little safe, maybe a little bit boring, copy and paste. But if it is functional and tasteful, like Honda's interiors, some people bag on Honda's interiors lately because it's literally the same thing across pretty much all their models. But it doesn't bother me because it's functional and it looks good enough to my eyes. And what we have here on the Crown, I love to see maybe a little bit downscaling because it's going to be a cheaper vehicle, the Camry, compared to the Crown. But it'd be great to have the 7-inch base MID here with an optional 12-inch screen. I love all the physical buttons. A new generation of head-up displays almost guaranteed. We have it on the new Tacoma. We have it on the new Toyota Grand Highlander as well. Unlike the new Accord, we should have a pano roof here on the new Camry, which will get people really excited as well. And we should expect this to be revealed at the LA Auto Show, which happens, I think, in November, if I remember correctly. Yeah, November 17th through the 26th. So I'll reveal for you guys the new Camry. It's supposed to be, well, from what I know, of course, Toyota hasn't said it officially, but from what I'm hearing, the new Camry will be revealed then, just like the new Prius was revealed last year before the LA Auto Show, as well as like the BZ3X, or what Toyota calls the BZ Compact SUV, I believe. So in November, we will get the full reveal. And don't be surprised if Toyota plays the teaser game maybe a month or so before, like they're doing with the Lexus products, like they did with the Tundra and the Tacoma. The Camry's still a big seller here in America, and it needs to be a home run. It just lost its crown recently in California as the best-selling sedan to the Model 3. So hopefully Toyota can hit a home run with this like they have with the new Prius and generate buzz and excitement for the Camry, just like they did when the current generation Camry came out in around 2017 or so based off the TNGA platform. Currently the Camry has a base engine, the 2.5 liter with a little over 200 horsepower and the 8-speed auto. It also has a similar hybrid powertrain that we see in the Lexus ES, the ES300H, but we just call it the Camry Hybrid. It's front-wheel drive only, and the Camry Hybrid only has 208 horsepower, while the Lexus ES has a little bit more at 215 horsepower. And these numbers are totally based off of older hybrid technology generations compared to what we have with the new 5th generation hybrid technology, let's say in the new Prius, the new Corolla Cross, etc. And my sources are saying the hybrid powertrain is the only powertrain that we'll see in the next generation Camry. I can't 100% rule out the 2.4 liter turbo hybrid max that we see on the RX 500H or the Crown Platinum. But I think honestly, this powertrain is just overkill for what we see in something like the Camry. Maybe if they make a GR Camry one day, they could put something like this in there with 366 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque. That's a possibility. But honestly, at launch, this is what I'm expecting, or really close to it, because we know the Crown Hybrid, the Limited, not the Hybrid Max, has all-wheel drive. Yes, we're going to get Camry Hybrid all-wheel drive. Doesn't mean it's going to be standard. I think you're going to have that option. The Crown has it standard because it's a more premium vehicle, but you're going to have a front-wheel drive Camry Hybrid, an all-wheel drive Camry Hybrid, and the power numbers on it are probably going to be anywhere from around 230 to 240 horsepower. The Crown Hybrid is at 236 horsepower. And fuel economy should go up as well from the current gen Camry. Maybe they make it a little bit more aerodynamic. And the base Camry Hybrid LE, we have a little over 50 miles per gallon, 51 to 53, which is quite impressive for a large sedan, but it is low to the ground. It is aerodynamic. Now, could we expect something like the plug-in hybrid on the Camry? Well, that's our dream, right? I think that would be an amazing vehicle for so many people. I think that sort of attention would more than likely be reserved for something like the Lexus ES 450h Plus, and that vehicle is expected to come out maybe in 2026, something like that. That keeps getting pushed back. It's supposed to get pushed back to Japan for production, but I think they delayed it an extra year. So that might not happen in 2025, 2026 for next generation ES, which more than likely will have a 450h plus. But man, Lexus is supposed to be fully battery electric by 2030. You'd only have that plug-in hybrid ES available for a handful of years. That seems also unlikely. So, and honestly, when you're getting 51 to 53 miles per gallon, having a plug-in hybrid on top of that is not the most beneficial in terms of efficiency. You'd be much better off if you're Toyota and you don't have a lot of battery packs to go around to save those larger plug-in hybrid batteries to put on SUVs, big crossovers to improve their fuel economy ratings for, the CAFE standards and whatnot. Speaking of Crown and Sedan, we know that the Crown Sedan is coming, available for Japan. It's on display currently today at the Fuji Speedway for the Fuji 24 Hours race. This is a huge social, car enthusiast gathering. Think of this as like Indy 500, they say, or even Le Mans in France. This is at the height of the Japanese car scene, and they have the Crown on display there. Look at this thing. If the new Camry can look anything close, it won't look exactly like it because this is front engine rear wheel drive. But if it looks something like this, man, we're in for a treat. Now, the wheelbase on this is supposed to be longer than the Toyota Mirai. Man, it just looks so good from every single angle. And this has more of that traditional fastback design, unlike what we saw on the Camry, which is a traditional 3-box. But I actually would much rather have this Crown Sedan than the new Camry. But obviously, it would cost more. You can see the wood here on the door, how much legroom. Now, this is a hydrogen fuel cell or a hybrid vehicle. So you're going to have your choice depending on the market. You can definitely tell this is tailored to VIP because this front seat is pushed forward quite far and the headrest is folded down. So probably just with the push of a button, you see all this additional accommodations here on this center portion. Now, it is left-hand drive. Check that out, right? Because this seat's pushed all the way forward. The steering wheel's right over here. This is left-hand drive and Japan's right-hand drive. So what we're seeing here is a vehicle that could be sold in the United States. It could be sold in China. And they're saying that simultaneous release, not only in Japan, but also in China or the United States. It doesn't say and the United States. So I don't think the United States is getting this. I would 100% want to be wrong because this is the most amazing sedan we've seen from Toyota and Lexus in a very, very long time. This would be a spiritual successor to the Lexus GS rear-wheel drive-based sedan that was canceled in 2020. And it could also follow up the Mirai. So how I see this vehicle, if it is sold in America, is the replacement for the Mirai. They might not call it the Mirai. They could just call it the Crown Sedan. And it could be available as both hydrogen fuel cell and a full-on hybrid, but it is kind of hard to tell what kind of hybrid powertrain it would have since it is longitudinal engine mounted. Or they could just use an electric motor in the rear because that's what the Mirai already has, is electric motor in the rear, and it's fed electricity through the battery pack as well as the hydrogen fuel stack. But they could also put the Hybrid Max in here that we see in the Crown with the 2.4 liter turbo and the electric motor in the rear. So it's really hard to say. I would love to see this vehicle come to America, but with the new Camry on the horizon, I just don't see the space for both of them. Look, they essentially transformed the Avalon because they didn't think there was room for two large sedans in the market. So this is very much a niche vehicle. If it comes to the United States, hydrogen, or they brand it as a Lexus and we can party to the break of dawn for the new GS. But, that's wishful thinking. But I'm going to shut it down there, guys. Let me know if you want to see this beautiful Crown sedan here in the United States. And would you be interested in the new Camry, even if it's only hybrid? Make sure you're subscribed because I'll bring you guys the latest Camry updates and even Crown because I'm just as excited for the Crown as well. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day and peace.